Hello there, it's Paul here and welcome along everyone. This project this time I'm going to do hopefully some form of a segmented vase. It's going to be close segmented. Now I've been playing around with some different designs and basically my lathe has a swing on it of about 185mm. So what I've done, I've got a piece of A4 paper here, and if this is going to be the centre of the lathe here, I've then just drawn this line down here, which is about 170mm, so it's well within the capabilities of the lathe. And I've just drawn out what I thought was hopefully a design. I would probably like to do something like that, but these really sharp curves mean you've got to use big pieces of wood. I've got some Beech, got a Padauk, and I also a piece of Sapele about the size of this as well, and I've got an oak bowl blank here which I'm going to use as well. A second design, a lot more slimmer so that it's more upright. The pieces then are that much thinner so that they are a lot smaller pieces. And then I did a bit of searching around on Google, found several pictures, and I come up with something again very similar, fairly slimline. It's going to be a bit more of a detailed bottom at the bottom. Again, these gradual sides and a neck with the open at the top, probably similar to the bottom. Now I don't want this to be the very bottom on there. I want this more as an insert. And then when I've finished, I can then finally part off the bottom so that you've just got the segmented rings on the bottom, and this will be glued inside as the base. The plan on this is to make all these segmented rings up before I really even start sticking them on the lathe. I will put a small amount of glue on the surface. Padauk is quite a porous wood, so it does suck the glue in quite quick. Place the two pieces together, hold them with pressure for about 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, and I'm just watching my clock in the corner, which has got a second hand on it. That's now had 10 seconds, and as you can see, it's not falling off. That just needs to be left probably a few minutes before it can then be glued again. So that's now turned those into two halves, and I can see I've got a slight bit of gapping there, so I just need to sand the angles down on these insides very slightly so that I've got a better join. But because these have all just been glued, I will leave these at least 15-30 minutes before I then do those two halves. I now have all of my rings made up. So we've got some Padauk rings here, I've got some Sapele rings, and the majority of these are all Beech rings. So there's 12 pieces per ring, 12 rings, so it's 144 pieces there, so it's not a massive amount of pieces, but as you can see, it's a big chunk of wood being used. What I need to do now is make sure the bottoms of every one of these rings is nice and flat. To make sure that each of these are perfectly flat, what I'll do is the bottoms I will chalk up like this. Once the whole of that is chalked, I will then just sand it on the disc until all the chalk is gone. I want the bottom totally nice and flat to glue onto the ring above, or the base for the very bottom one. And then once it's on there, I will then use this board to then do exactly the same to sand the top before I then glue another bottom to it. On there, so we can see that it's where it's already taken out parts when the chalk has disappeared. And there we go, all the chalk has now gone, so that is perfectly flat and ready to be used and glued up. My next job now is to take this oak ball blank, get it mounted on the chuck. I want to put a tenon on there to hold in my standard C-jaws, and then I will probably hot glue this to the oak blank to start with so that I can true up the inside. I can then take that off and then cut the outside of this to then fit the inside of the blank. I don't need to overly put too much hot glue on this, it's just a case of it being held in place temporarily while I turn the inside. I just need to true this up on the inside. So I now need to make a large tenon on here, which will slot inside this. Right, that's now a nice fit on there. The glue's now been allowed to set, so that's stuck on there nice and firm. I'm now going to make sure that this surface is nice and flat again, so that then I can glue on the next piece. And I'll do this for probably, so the build up probably about 4 levels on here before I then start turning down the inside. 5 layers on here, so we've got 1 Padauk and 4 Beech. And the reason I've done 5 rather than 6, on the 6th one here is where my curve is going to be right in the middle piece there before it starts curving back in again. So it's ideal really from this point to be able to take out from this 5th row all the way down there. And for this one I'm just using my large bowl gouge. And just taking gentle cuts. That is the inside done now for the first 5 layers. I can then carry on as I did before, make sure this is flat, and then build up another few layers. Now I've got 3 more rows glued on here, so I've got Sapele, Padauk and another Beech. So we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, our 5 rows which I did there first. That's where the curve changes, and I've got 2 more coming on the curve, so I'm going to now just shape this bit round here. I might have to true up some of this outside because we are starting to get bigger here now, and just in case I need to put the steady rest on. I am picking up a lot of vibration on there, so I'm going to just true up a section of this outside. Alright, just trued up that Padauk area there. Now I've got the steady rest on here, and because I've got it fairly near the end here, and the foot plate there, I can only get my tool resting so far. And I'm just turning the speed down a bit because of the steady rest. So now quite a nice transition running on the inside there. I've got a nice steep curve on the bottom there, which comes down to the Sapele, and then it curves out. So I will now face off this, flatten this top surface again, and get probably another at least 2 more levels on there. I've got 2 more rings on here, so it's a Beech and a Padauk. So now I need to just hollow out the inside of this to take it round. Then I've got 2 more to go on there, so there'll be 1 more Sapele and then a Padauk to go on the top. But I didn't want to put these on because there is a lot of wood to take out inside there at the moment. And I'm just going to take this easy. The inside has now all been hollowed out with those last 2 pieces put on, and there was an awful lot of wood to take off this, and I did have to resort to my carbide tool to take most of that out because it was just taking so long. I have also sanded this all the way up to 600 grit all the way inside there. The last 2 layers have now been glued on. Did this last one probably about 15 minutes ago, so it should be well enough to turn. And I just now need to do that final bit of turning on the inside there. The inside is now shaped and everything in there now has been sanded to 600 grit. So I will slowly start shaping this now. Now I've got the banjo switched around on the other side here, so I'm just going to try and take this down what I've done with the other side there. Steady rest has now moved onto the end there. I can just now get this centrepiece how it should be. This has now been sanded to 600 inside and out. Now hopefully you can see here on the overhead camera I've started parting off on the bottom there to where I want to take this off, and I always take an indent in anyway because it allows you then to sand the edges properly and finish that bottom piece off there. I think I'm going to go probably for a spray finish, but before I do that I'm going to give this a coat of sanding sealer and then sand it back again. Just get some sanding sealer on there and hopefully you can see that there. Come up, that's going to look really nice. And the good thing about sanding sealer as well, it's doing this, it also clears out a lot of that loose dust that you've got still on the wood. Now I've parted this off and hopefully you can see there that's what was left on there. So I did still have a fair chunk there which I then had to cut off with a saw, and to tidy up all the bottom just basically sand it all flat, and hopefully you can see on there I've just signed it and put the year on there as well. So for finish wise I'm going to go for an ordinary gloss lacquer. If I'd have known I was going for this right at the beginning, I would have, as I slowly built up the layers, I would have sprayed the inside first of all to start slowly building up the lacquer. This is now spinning on my turntable. It's not the smoothest of things, but the main thing is it's rotating so that I'm not just constantly going in one place. Just doing that inside. we'll slowly coat the inside. Well, I'm not going to give that too much, I shall leave that for now. And as I say, for the outside, I'm just going to give and that's one rotation. So I'm going to slowly build this up as I go along like that. So I'll leave this now probably 15 minutes or so and then give it a second coat and carry on building it up.